literally, our house was lifted up by the weather, dragged away, and the only thing that stopped it from being in the neighbor's yard was the power pole.
What's up, guys? Today we have a treat for you. Carrie and Chad in the studio today. So let's just jump into it. So you guys lost everything in 2008 and you clawed your way back up to become very successful real estate investors.
Yeah, it was. It's been a journey.
So, I mean, I feel like I hear a lot of investors in the 2008 crash who lost everything. And some guys clawed their way back up to be very successful again. And some guys never made it, you know?
Right.
So what happened in 2008 and how did you get your way back, you know?
I think in 2008, I didn't have enough financial knowledge at the time to even see that it was coming. I mean, we all kind of knew that everybody was like, you fog a mirror and here's a loan kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I wish I was investing during those years.
Right.
Because like now I struggle to get loans, you know?
Well,
so, like,
yeah.
but I'm like, dude, if I could just have that, don't ask me questions, give me money, like I could do so much damage, I feel like, in today's market anyway.
Right. And then I was an electrician at the time, so Countrywide, which was probably the biggest perpetrator, went from maybe 10 to 20,000 square feet of retail office space to over 1 million in like a couple of years.
So the lender blew up just by giving out these loans.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, again, I just didn't have the financial knowledge to know what was happening. And then, you know, you kind of start thinking things slide. You know, most of us like, you know, it's cool. It'll come back. Yeah. And it didn't.
So I mean, like, how big was your portfolio, or what was going on, like, in the?
I was just flipping at that time because loans were so easy to get, and everything was fairly low interest. So I just was flipping.
So you just buy houses, like renovate them a little bit, and then sell them, and like.
I was kind of doing that thing where I would live in it, so I wouldn't have to pay capital gains. So I would buy one, live in it for the 2 years, and it was gone 2 years and 1 day later.
I love it. And then when you did that, it was. Just like the market was also rising at the same time. So then like it was like you buy it pretty much like you can do no wrong, the market's going up, and so even if you buy a bad deal, you're gonna sell it for a profit.
Yeah, my low end I was making 200,000 a house.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
and what's the high end?
Huntington Beach was probably closer to 4.
Wow, amazing. So like the money's just flowing in that stage.
And then you know, business.
It's like you've got a money tree basically. It's like free. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and at the time, almost everything was paid off. I had, you know, I was making good money because you know you got to remember in the beginning of that was the .com craze. Well, imagine all these people with just tons of money. And they
that was
wanted
like 2001 around there, right?
Yeah. So you know, being an electrician, they needed power and they wanted lots of it for all their little server farms and all kinds of crazy stuff. So
So business was good on the electrician side and on the house flipping side.
Yeah.
2008.
So I was kind of doing both at the same time, and I was just going up, and then I went.
So what did your portfolio look like when you were at the height?
I didn't really hold a bunch of properties. It was all just active income.
So just like a lot of cash and
a lot of cash,
etc.
Right.
But then how did if it was just cash during the crash, how did you lose the cash?
Because what happened with the crash is it took 6 years for anybody to really recover. So you know the downtrend started 2007, 2008. 12 was at the bottom of real estate.
So it was just starting to go down at that point in time.
It just kept sliding, and then you know the cash just kept going and going.
There's no electrical work.
Yeah, and there was no work because nobody was doing it.
Because nobody had money to spend at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the electrical works, the business suffered, and then also the house flipping was basically down to zero. So that over those next 4 years, we just slowly dwindled down to almost nothing.
Right, and you know, had I known, man, if I would have had buy and holds or something like that, I would at least had cash flow to kind of carry me through that. But
So you went down to like almost zero, or?
Oh no, I owed about 100 grand.
So you went from really high to like negative at that point.
Oh yeah.
He actually worked an entire year and made no money.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I literally worked that year. I worked 363 days. My short day,
as an electrician.
As whatever. Whatever I could get. And my short day was probably 10 hours. Wow. I worked as much as 21 hours on a couple times.
That's insane to just even think about working on a 20-hour day
and making no money.
What do you mean by
so like your expenses?
Okay.
The money you bring
is
in
equal
at
though,
the end of the
so you're making money. It just is enough to cover, but your net worth wasn't rising.
Yeah,
okay.
It was literally zero.
Okay. So you're basically like a slave at that point.
Absolutely.
Crazy. And what year was that? When that?
Oh.
2009.
Yeah, probably 2009.
Okay. So 2008, 2009, up to maybe 2012. At what point did everything kind of start to turn around for you?
Fourth quarter of 2014.
Okay, so it took from 2008
I know exactly because I remember I got a job and literally in 3 months I got out of the $100,000 worth of debt and I was at zero.
So I mean, how did you do that? What
I got some decent jobs.
Okay. Like some electrician jobs, you mean?
Right,
okay.
and you know when you're that hungry, I worked really hard to get it done fast.
So during that time, the debt was just piling up. Basically, that's how you got into the hole at $100,000. Was it credit card debt or was it?
It's just everything.
Kind of debt?
Yeah.
Okay. And then so like you clawed your way out in the fourth quarter of 2014, and then at what point did you start the trend where you're investing in real estate and got to the like what you guys are doing now?
So then there wasn't too much time that went by. Sometime around 2015. So my dad had a property that he was speculating on, sold it to another investor, and this investor, I just don't think has the temperament to be an investor.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Can you explain?
So like if you're a bouncer and you just fly off the handle, it's just not your job.
You have to be cool and calm during like the challenges, right?
That and you have to accept that you aren't going to buy something and just get checks. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. There's going to be calls.
I mean, that's what they show on social media, though, right? Like,
yeah.
You click a button, and then every month you get $1,000.
Yeah.
With like no phone calls, there's not any trouble.
Where's that button? I want to click it.
Exactly. No hassles, nothing.
Yeah.
And
act now.
So he was speculating on it, and it was in an area in Redlands where this property, if you wanted to build the commercial in front, you had to have it as an easement.
Okay.
And he was tired of waiting, and he was at a point where he had doubled up from when my dad sold it to him.
So it was worth double now.
It was worth double, and he gave me a deal where he would own or carry it.
Okay.
So I had to come up with $30,000, and I didn't have it.
Okay.
So at the time, I was getting money for material and a job that was right around $30,000.
Okay.
And I kind of diverted it.
I mean, I hear the stories. I mean, the contractors. I mean, like I mean, our guy might do it sometimes too. But I get it. Okay.
So anyway, then I used the rent money from the renter to pay back the money.
Okay.
So it was kind of guaranteed,
Yeah.
and that went really well for a couple years. And then I got a call from an investor and said, "Hey, we'll offer you like 200," and I was like, "Okay, well, you call me back when you get near 3."
Okay. What did you buy it for?
I paid 140.
Okay, 140 seller finance, $30,000 down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I knew that I wanted somewhere around 300 a foot.
Okay.
Because
They had to have it.
Yeah, the guys, the investors who wanted to, they really needed
So
it. For the commercial property in front, the easement thing.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
So for like fire egress, like if you have big trucks or anything in the back of the building, so the front is obviously a main street, so you can't have trucks parked there. You have to have a way out.
Got it.
So there's a street behind it, but they had to tear down my house in order to have the easement.
I see. So like it was kind of like the commercial property needed your house as a strategic plot of land in order for them to basically function as a commercial property.
Right. Or otherwise it was just dirt.
So you kind of had them by the balls, basically. Like they would overpay just so they could get like the access to it.
They did. And they didn't like it because the guy's like, "Really, you're not going to come down?" I go, "I have a renter in there. I'm making money. I can do this forever."
That's one of the good things, especially about like in the 2008 crisis, is all the guys who had positive cash flow for their rentals. Then like they just sat through like all the challenges of your property goes up and down. It doesn't matter as long as you're cash flowing positive, you can literally hold it for the rest of your life.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, you're sitting pretty at this point, right? You had all the leverage.
Right. And so, we kind of went back and forth with this for a while, and that was about 2 years later, and then because we had bought the motorhome just to make sure we had a place to stay after the crash.
What do you mean by that? So you bought a motorhome after the crash? Why?
Yeah. So that way, no matter what, we'd have a place to stay.
So in case you lost your house, it was just
or whatever.
So you could live in a motorhome.
Right.
Okay.
And then
what does a motorhome cost? I have like no clue how this.
Well, they can go up to a couple million.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
For a motorhome?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we were like, okay, everybody that we'd talked to said, just make sure you buy the biggest one you can afford.
Okay. Okay.
Don't start, because what happens is you'll start this and then you get another one and another one.
And you lose money every time you trade it.
Right. So they're like, just get the biggest one you can afford. So we settled in on one that was, they were asking 100. By the time I left, it was 58.
Wow. Okay. So you guys got a good deal just by just negotiating.
Right. So
Yeah,
then
they
we had our.
literally were kicking us out. They're like, "There's no more money. You guys can leave now."
Right.
So yeah, we got a great deal.
And so anyway, we started staying in this town called Menifee in California.
Okay.
Because that was the closest RV park to where we lived in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
And we're like, wow, this town's kind of cool. It's really growing fast. We should look at investing here. And then
what about the town made you like think that it was a growing?
Just because every time you went by there, they were building something.
New development. There's a new
a lot of new houses everywhere. A lot of new commercial spots, new restaurants.
So you could just see the actual gentrification happening as things are coming up.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like that's rare. Usually, like it's like a longer period of time or it's a lot speculative. But if you guys can just see it happening, there's like right away that it's gonna go up in prices.
And then after a while, they started saying, "Wow, this town's like the 5th fastest growing city."
Oh wow!
And,
okay.
But we'd already been there and already sunk our teeth into it.
Okay.
So then we were like, "Okay, now we're validated."
Yeah.
And then as we settled in, it's speeding up.
Okay. Okay.
Even still.
Yeah.
So we originally were looking for. In our minds, we wanted 20 houses that cost $100,000.
Okay.
20,000 down on all of them. You'd have about $200,000 all in, and we were like, we could come up with that.
And then what would each one cash flow for you every month?
We thought around 1,000.
So you rent them out for like 1,500.
Yeah.
And then the rest, the mortgage is like 500 around there. So like cash flow positive about $1,000. So if you had 20 houses at $1,000 cash flow, $20,000 in passive income a month, and enough to live a pretty good life. So,
So that was kind of our mindset, right? So we're like, all right, well, we're gonna go for that. So then the $100,000 houses went really fast to 200,000. And we're like, oh man, what are we gonna do
in that city?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then there were so many cash buyers. Every time we'd go, they would get them.
Yeah. Because you guys are coming in with a loan, that's why.
Or however, we just didn't have.
We knew about creative financing, but we didn't know creative financing.
Yeah, but if you're cash with creative financing, cash is gonna win every time if they present both offers, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah. So there were what do you think, 15, 20? Because we
probably 50 houses we lost.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow,
to people with cash, because we probably looked at 500 plus.
Oh wow. In that city.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Like every weekend we'd drive around looking at houses.
It's crazy, number one, that you guys looked at that many, but also that there's that many houses just being sold in such a short period of time.
Oh, it's still kind of that way there. It's growing. I mean,
what are the houses going for right now in that city?
Average 6, 7.
So like if you guys just bought everything at 2, you'd be pretty
Right.
I know, right? Hindsight's 2020. We never thought it would go that high, but you ended up doing a 1031 to get our property in Menifee.
I did, and then I carried the note because he didn't want to lose. At the time, interest rates were horrible.
Okay.
So you ended up selling the property to the investor.
I sold the property to the investor, took the money. We ended up buying almost 10 acres in Menifee.
Okay. Just raw land.
No, it had a manufactured home that shouldn't have been sold to us on a loan.
Okay.
Nobody ever went out and checked the foundation.
Okay.
So they just assumed it was on a permanent foundation.
I see.
And we didn't say anything.
Okay.
So we got a great loan on it.
Great.
And then we pulled money out of it, and then we bought another property about 2 miles away that's about 6 acres, and that was actually a stick-built house.
Okay.
And then we spent about a year or two renovating that.
That's our primary when we're.
So right now in that city, we kind of control about 15, 16 acres.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for the developers
to come there and ask you for the land and to build on, or maybe you guys can build it yourselves too. That's another.
Well, we've thought about that. So we call it the South 40, which is about 4 acres that our neighbors' horses run around.
Okay.
So we could easily build 12 spec homes over there.
No. I see no shaking. Why
Why not?
Because it's country and it's horses and it's like.
So we
It's
could build
valued.
12 houses.
So I mean, like theoretically, you could like there's enough space for 12 houses,
Yes.
but you got to make sure the demand is there for the 12 houses in that area. Is what you're saying?
Well, it's not even the demand. It's you're gonna ruin the neighborhood. And,
Well,
I mean, money's great and houses is great.
I see.
But I don't want to ruin the neighborhood.
Until
people
it's
that live there.
ruined.
I
Is what
see.
it
Until it's ruined by developers.
So until they start building houses in the area, you guys don't want to be the ones to start building the houses
No.
first.
But she's kind of losing the battle. So there's 1,000 acres open to the left of us.
Okay.
So the north.
Hmm.
But the city already put a sign out that they're going to build 250 houses
In the north over
in
there.
that little
Okay,
area.
okay.
So it's already coming.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
when.
Right.
Is it zoned to build houses if you wanted to? The
You know,
acres?
I don't know. Because our
You can split acres, but I don't know about.
yeah,
zoning.
they've changed it over the years. So it used to be you in that area you had to have a minimum of 2 acre splits.
Mhm.
The other property we have is 2.5.
Okay.
But they're really changing that
Yeah.
fast. You know,
It's
like,
probably, I mean, as the new developers are coming in, like they're probably putting more pressure on the city to have it how they want. So they
Right.
like just
Yeah.
they can build more houses, and as the city changes that one, like the surrounding ones will also change as well too. So
Right. So eventually a developer will come and
And
want
ask
to buy
for
our
that,
land,
yeah.
and I'll take my kitchen and I'll leave.
Exactly.
And I'm okay with that. But when we moved to Menifee, we were renovating our primary place, and we were actually living in our RV,
okay,
which was amazing. And if you've
Why-
ever
why is
thought
that?
of doing
Why-
that, do it, because it's so simple.
okay.
It's
You mean like the RV, living in an RV is very simple.
yes.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, so this is one thing that I think about all the time is like having a big house. Like, okay, it's nice to have for entertaining, etc. But then, along with a big house comes with cleaning, maintenance, like all the different things that come with a big house. And so, and then the thing is, the bigger house gets, the more stuff you buy to just fill and just stack it up,
Exactly.
right? And so now you have all this overhead that's like it's just like it's mental bandwidth, both physically, mentally, financially. Whereas if you just have a small place, and like you're kind of like more free as from like a mental perspective, you know?
Right. So we have 7 acres, and it's filled with farm equipment, cars, and electrical stuff.
This is like-
Living in the RV,
Yeah.
you can't have any of that.
Yeah, so you're forced by default to just not collect things, right? And so you have to be very like, you have to make choices like to choose whether or not you really want it or not, right? Because like you only have a limited amount of space. Versus like if you have a lot of space, just let's get it, and just like throw it back there, right? So,
Right. So that was great, and that's kind of what really transitioned into our real estate career.
Sort of. So while we were living in our motorhome,
Okay.
we would end up going to the jacuzzi.
In
'Cause
the
They have
motorhome?
no, they
Oh.
have in the park.
okay,
they
in the
had-
RV park. there's a
In the RV
jacuzzi,
park, they
okay.
had jacuzzis, and because of what I do for a living, I'm
Yeah,
always
yeah.
sore. So we'll go sit in the jacuzzi. Well, we ended up meeting these group of people, and you're always chit chatting, and I'm always curious about real estate.
Yeah.
So these people we knew, they're like, yeah, we're gonna go look at houses in Bullhead City in Arizona, because they just hated the politics in California. So they're
Okay,
like,
okay.
we just got to get out of here. And we're like, yeah. So we see them like 2 weeks later, and they're like, yeah, we found a house, really like it. And they're like, hey, we know you do construction. Will you read the, what is it, inspection
Yeah,
report?
inspection
Yeah,
report.
yeah.
So I was like, sure. So I'm like, so what do they want for the house? And they're like, well, 150 grand. And I go, 150 grand?
And I always told him, when you leave California, everything is on sale.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, it's got to be like an outhouse, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's on an acre. It's commercially zoned. It's like a 2,000 square foot house. And I'm like, what? So then I'm reading the report. It's got a little fire damage, not anything big.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, we can't do it. So I'm like, okay. So then, we see them 2 weeks later, and they went to a different town that's about 40 miles away from Bullhead, because
Okay.
Bullhead's really hot. So
Okay.
this other town
Like
is,
124 degrees hot.
yeah.
That is crazy hot. That is
Yeah,
crazy.
like you get out of the car and you can't breathe hot. Yeah, so this other town's a couple thousand feet higher in elevation, and the temperature's easily 20 degrees less.
Okay.
So, I'm just kidding. I'm like, so how much is this house? And they're like, that's 55,000. And I'm like, wait. So you get the house and the dirt and the fence, and they plug it into electricity and everything, and they're like, oh yeah. really? And they're like, will you read the report? So had a few things on there, nothing I would care about. And the whole time I'm like, man, my car costs more than the house.
I had the same experience actually living in Hawaii, right? It's like I'm never gonna own a house because it's so expensive. And then I hear people buying houses, honestly, in Indianapolis for $50,000. I'm like, it just does not compute. Like the world as you know it just kind of shifts. Like, is this? It doesn't even seem real or possible, right? It's like, here's a brand new car for $1. It's like basically what it sounds like, right?
Right. So, and in my brain, you know, especially with COVID, a 2x4 was $9, and I'm like, what do they put 4 of them in the house?
Oh, yeah, no, that's it. Doesn't. So it's crazy in some of those areas. The cost to build is more than what they're selling the house for, right? So if they build a brand new house, as crazy as you build a brand new house in there, it costs you like $250. You nail in the last nail, boom, it's worth $50,000. It's like, it's crazy, right? So.
Right.
So anyway, I'm like, this is nuts. So they pass on that house.
Okay, they pass on it.
They passed on it. We see them 2 weeks later, and now they got another one. And I'm just like, snickering. I'm like, all right, how much is this one? And they're like $42,500. Come on.
And the funny thing is, when they actually tried to put offers in, they would lowball them and
like
they'd accept them, and they'd still accept them.
So the third time, I'm like, I have to go see this place.
Yeah.
So we go out there, and the first house we look at, I'm like, we got to have it. But it was an all-cash house.
Okay.
Now, granted, it was $70,000.
Okay.
Which is a lot of money compared to what they were looking at.
But
so
it was a 4.2.
Well, no, it was listed as a 3.2, but it was a stick-built, not a manufactured, on a 1/4 acre with a 2-car garage.
Wow. Okay. How many square feet?
Well, they had it listed at 1,100.
Okay, but it was actually more?
Oh, yeah. So I'm walking it, and the whole time I'm like, there's no way this house is 1,100 square feet, because it was massive.
Yeah.
And so anyway, didn't kind of work out, so we kept looking.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up finding a different one, and that one was going to be an owner-carry manufactured home, was like brand new, even though it wasn't. He redid everything.
Okay.
But in Arizona, they have funny financing laws. So if it's ever been moved, meaning that if it doesn't go from the manufacturer to where its final place is, you can only go VA or FHA.
Okay.
You can't do conventional.
Okay, interesting.
So we were already in process, and then they figured out that the tag had been hidden.
I see.
And then it came up that basically we couldn't finance it. So I called the guy, and I'm like, look, we're qualified buyers.
Yeah.
If you can't sell it to us, you're not going to be able to sell it to anybody. So I go, you might as well own or carry. He goes, I really don't want to. And I go, why not? And he goes, I need at least $500 a month. And he was trying to get me, like, for his side on the closing costs. So I was like, okay, I'll call you right back. So I looked up what a full % less a month was.
Okay.
And I shortened the term, so I got him 5/10/38, which was 4% at 15 years.
Okay.
So I called him back, and he's like, really? 5/10? Yeah. So then I looked it up later. I saved 30, he made 2.
Nice. I love how when you're looking at these different deals and you just structure it like creatively where you get what you want, the other guy gets what you want, and it's like it's such a happy situation.
So
I can't do a deal unless it works that way, because otherwise somebody leaves with a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah. But it's so cool how real estate I feel like that always happens where there's so many opportunities where you need what I need and I need what you need, and then we work together, whether it's a specific deal, like maybe like a marketing and like project manager, like acquisitions, money, whatever the things is. There's always so much collaboration in this space where our talents or resources really complement each other.
I think so. And then there's so much ability to help somebody who's stuck in a situation, because we had that happen where a veteran lived in his house. I don't know what happened, but he burned it down. And he had nowhere to go, and he had no money, and nobody would buy the property. And he couldn't pay for his hotel or any of that stuff. So we got a call from our agent, said, hey, is there any way you guys could buy this? So we ended up buying it, and it worked out for us because we sat on it for 2 years, and we just traded it to a general contractor to flip 2 of our houses.
Nice. Very, very nice.
So everybody won.
Yeah, I love stories like that, and you're genuinely helping people out who can't figure out how to solve this issue themselves just by using your brain, basically, right? So just
that and some of my God-given skills, because the funny thing is we end up in this new area, right?
Okay.
And then of course, having seen the growth in Menifee, we were like, oh my gosh, this is happening again.
It's gonna
It's
explode.
this, and we're way early in this.
Are you talking about in Arizona?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're way early, and we can see it already.
What year is this?
2019.
Yeah, 19
Okay,
when we
2019.
started, and now it's accelerating even faster.
So give me an idea, like some of the numbers, like what are you buying houses for? Like how much has it accelerated for?
Well, we like buying houses for right around 60 to 80,000.
Okay, and that's in 2019.
Starting it. No, we're
Okay.
still doing it.
You're still doing it, okay?
Oh, well, some of them are gems. I mean, I just
Okay.
bought one for 30,000, but
Okay.
it's missing about 15 feet of the wall.
But I mean,
it's
30,000 is
concept.
crazy. It's just yeah. Okay, continue.
So we found a way where we felt bad for some of the people there, and there's a lot of homes like the one that we just got where they're not habitable. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the more houses that we put into circulation for the renting population, the less money they're going to have to pay because there's a higher supply. So that's kind of what we want to do right now is continue. And I think there's a stigma around manufactured homes because investors don't really like them. Banks don't like loaning on them. And in some cases, especially the newer ones, I think they're built better than a new house.
I mean, I'm not super familiar with them, but I hear good and bad stories about them. But I think it's weird how banks won't. Someone was telling me like in order to make I don't know what city or state this was, but in order to make the manufactured home legit permanent home is you just gotta put like a chain from the house to like the ground or something, and then now it qualifies for a loan.
That's pretty much our state. It's called a affidavit of affixment, and they call it earthquake straps. They 4 corners drill these little corkscrews in, and they put like little metal straps that look like you were strapping up an air conditioning duct, and that holds your house to the ground.
And now it qualifies for a loan, right? Like it's officially like permanently like attached to the ground or something like that.
Yeah.
But we do mostly creative financing. We don't really go to banks and do loans.
Yeah.
How did you guys hear about creative financing?
We just kind of made it up.
Done it.
So just like just when people present you with like a house or whatever, you're like, how can I creatively solve this with my brain? And you just kind of just figured it out on your own.
Yeah, I kind of started with that one. I mean, it was like, okay, we were going through the normal process and it wasn't going to work. And then I was like, you're going to have to carry it. And then that kind of started it. And then we were like, we could do this more.
Yeah. It's funny, I was actually having a call with Ryan yesterday, and he told me like I need to put limitations on my time. And he said like the quote is like limitations create like creativity, right? Or productivity. So like the fact that you're like you couldn't do it conventionally, you're given a limit. Okay, I can't buy this house like conventionally. Now you have to creatively solve the problems. And so like if you do this over and over again, you just get better at being creative, and you're way more efficient down the line. Like whether it's your business or real estate investing or structuring creative financing deals.
I think that's part of it, and I think the other thing is that a lot of people get stuck. You know, it's like they hit the roadblock and they're like, "Oh, I can't do it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think with seeing other people do it and a little bit of encouragement, it's once you get through the first one and you're like, "Okay, I'm good," you know, and I'm alive. Okay, now let's. You know, you might still tiptoe into that second one, but by your third one, you're like actively looking.
I feel like that's like real estate, all real estate investors in general, right? Your first rental, your first house, or your first wholesale, your first flip is like, am I still alive? It's like, did I miss something here? But you make it out. Let's say you make zero money. As long as you don't lose money, you're like, let's go and do the next one.
Warren Buffett's famous quote.
What's his quote?
Investments, don't lose money. That's rule 1. Rule 2. Look at rule 1.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and now it keeps going in all kind of fun directions.
So you guys, I mean, like it sounds like in 2014 you had a slight turnaround with the electricity and then when did you start like buying like more houses in Menifee and in Arizona? What year was that?
Probably
we stopped in Menifee.
Okay.
We got priced out.
Okay, so you started in Menifee, and then 2019 you moved to started buying in Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think that it was that we were priced out. We were at our financial knowledge limit.
Got it. So if you knew more at that time, you could have figured out how to
Yes.
purchase these.
I think so. And there's still deals there still, but that market, you're gonna have to go way higher. And then in my mind, I'm looking at, I could buy 10 houses for 600 grand that make 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
Or one house for 600 grand.
Yeah.
And if my tenant moves out, I'm
like 2,000 a month, right?
Right.
And so I mean that's the thing. Like when as investors or entrepreneurs, you're always looking for where's the biggest opportunity, the biggest return on your time and money, right? So like if you're given two different opportunities, one just gives you way more time or way more money for the same amount of time, like this is just a better opportunity. And so you guys saw Arizona and Menifee, and you're like, hey, Arizona is a bigger opportunity. Let's like focus all our time and energy over here.
And I think another thing was COVID. COVID really shoved us because California had so many laws and so many rules and so many things. And, it was like going to a different area in the world.
Yeah.
We would go there and it was really odd. It's an open carry state.
Yeah, Arizona.
Okay? So imagine going to the bank.
Okay.
Guy with a gun on his hip and the guard going, hey, you need to put your mask on. And you're like standing there going, something isn't right.
And then we come back to California and we were like, oh, wait, sorry, hold on.
Yeah. So, but the weird thing was you'd have to wear it in the bank, but if you went to a restaurant, it was fine.
Yeah, in Arizona.
In Arizona. So we weren't used to wearing masks except for in the bank, which we didn't go into very often. Yeah. And so you come back to California and you'd be like on the ground. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I put it on.
The same thing was in Hawaii too. And so whenever we travel out of state, there's just certain states where it was just way more open, right? And then you go back to, let's say, like California or Hawaii, where like you can't move unless you have all these things, checks and balances. You got to get the shots. You can't like. There's so much like restrictions in certain states, right? For better or worse.
Right.
And
so whatever it was, we just felt like, okay, it's easier over here.
Taxes are less.
Everything was less. Gas is way less. So we were like, you know what? Why don't we just spend our time over here, and then when California relaxes, we'll go back.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it went. And then we were like, okay, we're doing okay in California, but man, we could do a lot better in Arizona. So we just kept going back there more and more.
So at that point in time, what did you guys like start just buying more properties in Arizona? What's like the real estate strategy?
Yeah, so it was really funny. So we bought the one in 15.
Okay.
So we kind of went slow. We bought a couple more in 19, and then it was Janet Yellen that really changed everything for me. So I remember her during COVID coming out and going, "Yeah, we're gonna pull the cap off inflation."
Oh yeah. Okay.
So and I'm sitting there like I didn't know anything at the time.
What
so
does that mean?
Yeah. Pulling the cap off inflation. So the Fed has a cap at 2%. Okay. And that's what they're working toward now.
Okay.
So for decades, our government has had a 2% cap.
So they raise interest rates to keep the inflation down.
Right. So anyway, I went outside and I was sitting there and I was like, why would they do that? And then I started thinking about how much debt we have. And I'm like, they're going to burn down their debt, which means they're going to inflate the currency. So when you inflate currency, but you have fixed rate debt, you're paying back that lower debt with cheaper dollars.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly a brilliant strategy. I mean, and if you look at like when we buy houses, right? Like you buy the house and it's $500 today, and 30 years it's still $500 for your mortgage, even though you rent and everything. So you're paying the same amount of physical dollars, but the value is way less. And so if the government were to do the same thing, honestly, it's a genius move, but it also affects a lot of other factors of spaces, right? Like real estate, the economy, and things.
So anyway, I was like, I need debt.
Okay.
How do I get that? I buy houses. So then I was like, I walked inside, so we're going to buy a bunch of houses. She's like, why? What? And so
this is such a good point. Can you break that down for us? Why do you want to collect debt when you know there's going to be inflation? Can you break that down?
Right. So for me, I was if I could borrow money and lock it in and the rates back then were what? 2, 3.
Okay.
So manufactured homes are more. Okay. So our average is probably 6-7% blended. Okay. But if you look at where we went with just inflation, and that doesn't even count currency debasement, we were probably 9%.
Okay.
So if money costs 9, but I'm only paying 6 or 7, then I'm making 3 no matter what.
Well, the thing is, it's not just that 3. It's 3 for the first year. The next year, the 6% is still the same, but then that now becomes like basically it's like 18, right? Because like the inflation is compounding upon itself. So it's not just like that 3. It's like it's constantly compounding.
No, for sure. That was just one component of it. Then, so I'm already making 2 or 3 first year. I haven't done any depreciation, no appreciation, no cash flow, nothing. So by the time I'm done, I'm at 35%.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to put your money into to make 35% that's guaranteed?
Yeah. And it's not like you're doing anything special or you have to be like do anything crazy. You just borrow money and you make basically, because of inflation, like the way that the math works is you're making a crap ton just by like the economics of it.
No, absolutely. And
It's
then
genius.
you know, our model was we would buy these for 10 or 15,000 down. So we figured if we got the rent, we would have our money paid back in 5 years. So now we have a house that we have no money in.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's a 5-year burr basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But we never had to do anything because we just got paid back the money, and you know, it's an owner carry, so it's done.
You know who would hate this strategy, right?
Huh.
Dave Ramsey.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Don't borrow any money. Pay everything cash and save until you have $1 million to buy your house. And so,
you know, if we were in a deflationary environment, Dave would be right.
Yeah.
But you have to go, okay, is our government going to keep spending money and more of it, or are they going to stop? They basically check what the economic projection's going to be, and they check it, right?
Okay.
So they're saying that they're only going to spend $5 trillion a year for the next 7 years, but that also says that discretionary spending, they're going to cut it.
So what does that mean?
Discretionary spending is like little pet projects or sending money to Ukraine or whatever, and I don't see them cutting that. At all, probably.
So not only did he get into real estate, he got into financial education.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you're learning all these things to make better decisions across the board.
That and having more of an understanding, because that's, you know, if you go full circle all the way back to 2008, it was literally the ignorance that got me where I was. And had I seen any of this.
That's such an interesting point, because I feel like as investors or entrepreneurs, as you progress in your journey, you just get way better at solving problems, having resources, making better decisions. And so if you take like yourself and you put yourself back in, let's say 2008, knowing what you know now and the resources you have now, you probably would still be like perfectly fine, or even like have like succeeded or
it would have been a lot faster. And I think having the knowledge that I had in the first place is what allowed me to crawl out of 2008 in the first place. And now if something like that catastrophic happened, I would get it all back and even faster this next time.
It's crazy to think how that works, and like it gives you a sense of security and confidence. Where like because like I think before, when I was just working as a W-2, if you lose your job or things like it feels like the end of the world, right? But once it sounds like you guys. So I've never had to lose everything, thank God. Knock on wood.
Right.
But like, let's say once you have lost it and you've gained it back, now you have like this sense of like confidence that like if something happened, I've already done it where I've lost everything and I got it all back again, plus more, and so like, I think I can do it again. Oh,
I know I could, and it would be so much faster because you wouldn't be petrified that how am I going to do this with no money? I've already done it with no money. And then when you learn how to do it with other people's money anyway, that's what you just do all the time.
So let's talk about that. How are you not using your own money to do all this stuff?
Well, so the first few, we did our own money. We were making money in the electrical business, and my choice at the time was I could give the money to the government, or I could find a creative way to spend it so they didn't get it. So I was like, well, let's buy stuff.
Sounds like a plan.
Right. And then I was like, well, if I need debt, let's buy more houses. So that's what we chose to do with it. And then we realized that the depreciation was wiping out all of our tax burden. We're like, okay, this is pretty cool. Let's keep doing that.
I think we bought a house every month for the first year.
Actually, first 3. We bought a house on average every month for 3 years straight.
And these are all in Arizona. So you guys are rapidly building up a portfolio at this point in time by leveraging debt, basically.
Right. So what happens is you start getting confident. People start knowing who you are in town.
Yeah.
And then they're like, man, we really like what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, how much would you give me? Yeah. And at the time it was 2%, and I'm giving people 7%, and they're like, oh,
or seller carry, you mean?
Yeah. So they're like, heck yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
And we just keep, every year we probably add a couple more private investors that, they like what they call mailbox money.
That's true mailbox money.
Yes.
It's like like owning a rental. They think it's gonna be mailbox money, but then it's not. No. It's not. But then like private lending is really like mailbox money, right?
Right. And like I have a friend, and he's done flips and he's done a bunch of stuff, but he's a good 10 or 15 years older than me, and he was like, we should partner. And then he called me the next day. He goes, I don't want to partner. just put it in my mailbox. So.
It's funny, like, so we have like a fund where we raise money for our projects too, and there's a wide range of like investors who invest.
Right.
There's a guys who are like, I want to learn how to do real estate, so I'm gonna lend it to you, but you gotta teach me. I want to see all the projects, where they walk the projects. Other guys are like, take your money and don't ever talk to me again.
Right.
I don't even want to like, and I get that, because even for myself, sometimes I want to protect my time, right? It's like,
sure.
Something like, hey, like, can somebody just like pay somebody to like clean my yard, and just don't even tell me about it. Like, I don't even want to know it's done. Just get like a recurring, just like a payment, just because when you like take that off your plate, now that your other focus is whether, let's say, you're a doctor or you're an investor or business owner, you can put more energy here when you don't have like that extra like kind of distraction on the side.
No, absolutely. I just did that recently. So I had both my hips replaced, and it caused all kind of havoc. So my activity level went down. I wasn't me.
Yeah.
And anyway, I started getting into shape again, but I didn't want to just me figuring it out.
Okay.
So I hired somebody, and I have a team of people. I have a nutritionist, a doctor, everybody, and they do it.
Yeah.
And they just send me what I got to do, and now it's working out great.
I mean, it's just, there's so much power to that, where you find the right team members, right? And like that, the challenge is when you're coming up in the very beginning is you don't have any money, so you have to do it all yourself, right? But once you come to a point where you have the resources, now, and it's such an unfair game, because like when you have all the money, you can buy back more time and make more money, right? And then like when you have like the momentum, like you guys were saying, everybody knows you in town, as you get more notoriety, more opportunities and deals just fall into your lap because of that. And it's like a compound effect.
Right.
But getting to that point is like the challenge, right? So.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it has to be there, because if it was just where everybody could go do it, everybody would.
That's true. That's
so
true.
I think it's a test, and you have to go through that test to figure out, do you have the resilience to deal with all the things? Because, I mean, to be an investor, especially a real estate investor, you better be resilient, because you're going to get all kind of fun stuff thrown.
I mean, I completely understand what you're saying, but for our listeners, like, what kinds of things are we talking about here?
Well,
houses getting blown over by microbursts
so
on a Friday afternoon.
Right. So we literally, our house was lifted up by the weather.
Is this a manufactured home?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Dragged away, and the only thing that stopped it from being in the neighbor's yard was the power pole.
Wow.
So then we had to go figure out how to get it back and put the house back.
And how did you guys do it?
Well, fortunately,
knowing people,
but I honestly think it was the investor that we bought the house from that we owed money. He's like, he calls us and he goes, so are you guys still going to make your payments? And we're like,
of course.
Well, yeah.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, why wouldn't we? So he made a phone call to somebody, because we had a challenge finding people that actually lifted it back and moved it where it had to go. And he called the place that we were going to go to, and I don't know if it was just our money or his phone call or both, but somehow we got it back where it belonged.
It's now rented again.
Yeah.
Let's see, we've dealt with squatters.
Yeah, that one's fun.
That's fun.
We've had different style squatters. So we've had ones, our favorite one is where they moved in, they lived there for 3 months, nobody knew it.
Made a lease.
They made their own lease to a house they had no keys to.
Yeah. So when the police came, then they're like, hey, we have a lease. That's what happened.
So then we had to creatively figure out with the cops how to get them out of our house.
Yeah. One of the good things I think in Arizona, though, is like it is a lot easier to evict squatters versus like, let's say, in like California and Hawaii.
Yeah, our county is definitely landlord friendly. One of the reasons why we picked that area and chose not to do California as much.
Right, especially going through COVID and all that stuff.
Or they could just live for free for the next like 2 years or something like that.
Right. So I mean, in that particular aspect, if you were like me and relying on the rent to cover your payment, it could be a very bad day.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that did that, unfortunately.
The thing is, like, as you guys are going through these challenges and like what makes you want to continue to be a real estate investor, even though you're facing all these setbacks?
Well, now we've kind of changed our mission.
Yeah, so I think in the beginning, all of us are kind of thinking of us and our family.
Yeah.
You know, you're
provide for your needs. And
you're kind of small-minded, I guess, or your world isn't that big.
Yeah.
As you keep going, you're like, well, you know, I could help people in the neighborhood. And then you keep going and you're like, well, I can help other people learn how to do this. Your world just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And then now we're like, okay, well, we want to take care of our investors. We want to take care of our renters. We want to take care of the real estate agents.
You want to give back.
Yeah, you develop kind of a huge community, actually.
So when we first started, our company name is called Posh Properties.
Okay.
And when it first started, it stood for piece of shit house.
It's almost the exact opposite of what it sounds like. Okay.
Right. So our thing was we go from posh to posh, right?
I love it. I love it.
But since we've matured, it's now providing other sustainable housing.
I love it. I feel like a lot of people I know have had a similar journey where when you first start, like you just need to meet your own needs. Like, how can I make money so I can like live for my rent, provide food for my family, right? But once you're like, it's like a hierarchy. Like once that need is met, what's the next level? And now it's okay. Like let's like serve other people either in my team, the community, or for a greater cause. But it has to be like, you have to meet your initial need first, right? So I see like a lot of new investors like, yeah, I want to help people. But like, you don't want to help people. You just want to make some money. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? When you're just starting, you got to make money. But once you get to a point where like you have enough, now you can like change your mission where you want to like give back and like build something cooler.
And teach the younger generation how to work on houses because they don't know.
Yeah, and if you're a junkie like me, I'm more poor now than when I started because your payments get huge. And you're like, there's another house.
Your net worth is rising, but then your cash flow goes down, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's that balance, that constant juggle.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that one's constant.
Yeah.
And then, you know, for each person, they're going to have to figure out where their sleep at night level is.
Yeah. What can you talk? I mean, I know what you're talking about, but explain that a little bit.
So you've got basically like your net worth grows, right? But then you've got all these payments, and then you've got to factor in your capex, which is what improvements are you going to make to your property, what your average maintenance costs are, if you've got management fees, insurance, taxes. So you're going to have to kind of create a little bit of a fund to cover that, and then you have your lifestyle. And you're going to need to figure out what your cash conversion rate is, like how fast is money turning over, and you have to figure out kind of how much cash you need to hold before you can go buy something else, or you have to figure out whose money you can use so you're not.
The challenging thing as you're growing and like buying more houses, doing more deals, you're growing your net worth, but it's becoming more complex.
Yes.
So then now there's just more worry. You're carrying more debt, right? So there's more like responsibility. There's more tenants. There's more things that you have. There's more people under you that you have to be. And that as a business owner, people think that you are like you get employees and like they work for you, but really as a business owner, it's like you are accountable to them, right?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
But people, I mean, it's not everybody realizes that, but so as a business owner, as you get more employees, you actually have like way more accountability and way more responsibility. So like as you're growing your portfolio, your property managers, like all your contractors, all different things, like your life is becoming a lot more complex.
I think so, especially.
We should just go live in our RV.
Right. For sure. Well, the funny thing is, we originally started out that way. We're like, we don't want any houses, and then God had a different plan for us. So, but yeah, the thing is, I think if you want to create a great culture, you are going to become beholden to everybody in that culture.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be the one setting the standard for
and
it.
that's like the only way you can grow like healthily, you know, like if you don't have a good culture, eventually it's going to crash and burn. So like it does take like a good leadership that you guys have in order to maintain that culture and make sure that like people have what they need and to succeed at all levels.
So we actually have core values, and it started when our kids were younger.
Okay.
We had a sign that said, "Get it."
Okay, I love it.
And they'd have to sit in front of it when they got in trouble. Well, GET IT stands for gratitude, empathy, thoughtfulness, integrity, and teachable.
Right.
Wow. I mean, you guys are full of cool acronyms.
So
the Posh was the best one, by the way, though. So.
Well, that came at Lowe's.
Oh, the Posh.
Because, you know, when you give them your credit card and they go, all right, what's the PO? And I don't know, the house was just really pissing me off that day. And I was like, piece of shit house. Like, Posh. And then it just stuck. And then every time, you know, one of the guys that worked there, he goes, what is Posh? And I told him what it was. And then you come in, and this was during COVID. So, like, we're there every day. And they're like, don't want it.
But then we had to be politically correct.
Right.
So we changed it. But yeah, so get it. That would be our core value. And so if people want to be around us and work with us, they need to reach that core value.
I like it. I really like it. I mean, even for us, we have core values, but it's such a big, like, it's so important to, like, have it, like, constantly reminded, because a lot of times people might know it, but then they forget it. And so, like, you have to constantly remind them in order to, like, kind of keep it front and center in order to actually, like, work, you know, so.
Right.
I think that really reinforces the culture too.
It's like what's important to you, what you focus on, right? So
yeah, because I think another thing, you know, like in the beginning, you're just trying to get it done, so you don't really even think about this. When you get a little bit bigger, it's like you said, you want to get your time back, and you want to manage your time, but you also want to manage who you spend your time with.
That's a really good point. And I mean, this all goes to your growth as an investor or entrepreneur, is that in the beginning, you don't have a choice. You got to work with whoever's willing to work with you, right? Because you don't have options. But as you grow and have more success, now you can choose where to spend your time, where to spend, like, your everything that you do. You just have more options of what's available to you.
Absolutely.
So what do we see in, like, the next 3 to 5 years for?
Okay, so we bought a mailbox business, mailing and shipping business.
Okay. Well, how long ago did you guys buy this?
Sort of. So we were at breakfast, and she goes, hey, what do you think about this deal? And I slid the phone back, and I grabbed mine, and I called the agent. I go, just buy it.
What?
Because it was a building
okay.
on a street in our town, but it's on, like, one of the new main drags.
Okay.
They just built O'Reilly's. They're building. They just upgraded the
commercial
fire.
properties coming up.
Right.
Okay.
And anything on that street's about $200 a foot.
Okay.
It was $120 a foot.
Wow. Okay.
All its own property, and it came with the mailbox business. That was just here, have it.
Wow. Okay.
So the building was a good deal. Forget the business. And then we were like, well, this might be all right. And then we were talking to Ryan. He's like, oh, that's a great business.
I hear a lot of good things about that.
We're like, oh, okay.
So the guy never got it up and running, so we're literally starting.
Okay.
He has, I think, like 80 boxes out of the 400, but our daughter's running it and she loves it.
I love it. I mean, so you're involving your family and everything,
yes.
and so, and then, like, what is, like, the mailbox generate every month?
That
one doesn't
nothing.
generate anything.
Okay. No.
That's putting us in the hole.
But what we like is, even though it's only a square foot,
okay.
Well, to move somebody out doesn't take much. There's no rehab.
Yeah.
No toilet.
Right.
There's no
right. It's very, very easy and passive. Like,
yes.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the new one that we're getting, it's already cash flowing $10,000 a month.
Okay.
It's been up and running for over 9 years.
That's when you guys are buying a new
yes.
like basically another location.
Which was funny. It only happened because we got the first one.
Yeah.
So the guy came in and said, hey, I know you guys just bought this. Are you interested in mine?
The same thing, like we were talking about, how just doing more opportunities just gives you more opportunities.
Right.
And it's such an unfair game, because they always talk about the rich getting richer. Is
I
because
agree with you
all
on
the people
that.
who have money, they just have way more opportunities. And so, like, even
I
like,
don't think it's unfair.
well, it is. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? It's like whether or not you earn or deserve it is like the guy in the top has all the leverage, all the power, and so he can, like, 10x here, but the guy on the bottom is like, he has to struggle to 1x, like, you know.
Right, but at the same time, if the guy sitting on the couch eating cheeseburgers, how much weight's he gonna lift versus the guy that goes to the gym?
No,
it's
yeah,
not
that's
really
true.
unfair. It's who's putting in the work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you have maybe we have an unfair advantage at a certain point. So.
Yeah, because you're in the room with different people.
Yeah. I mean, just you get bigger opportunities, even though, like, you just get presented with bigger opportunities as you guys are growing and having success.
Right. So the new one closes in November.
Okay,
so
congratulations.
I'm really excited about that one.
That's next month, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then my next goal is a roller skating rink.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to invest in a roller skating rink,
what's the thought process behind that?
There's nothing to do in our town
Ah.
for teenagers or kids
Or
or adults or literally anybody.
And there's doctors that come and they move to town because there's a section of town where houses go for over $1 million.
Okay.
So we get a lot of transient nurses, people with money, but their kids get bored because there's nothing to do. So they end up leaving.
Interesting. So like trying to provide more of like an entertainment section.
Yes.
Very interesting.
And we love roller skating.
Okay.
Our kids love roller skating.
Okay.
And everyone I talk to loves roller skating.
It seems like it's a low maintenance kind of business too.
I think the biggest thing would just be the insurance aspect, the liability.
Because we were actually looking at buying different businesses as well too, and so there's a wide range of like how much you have to be involved as an owner. Because if you look at, let's say, like a restaurant, it's like the margins are smaller, and then also like you're constantly hiring and managing and training staff, right? Because it's like the pay is low, so like you're constantly getting turnover,
right?
And then but it's like it's a tricky business because the skill has to be there, whether it's the cooking or the customer service, even though you're not getting paid that much. And so like it's hard to get that kind of like level, right? So you're constantly having this turnover, there's drama, whatever things, and then the margins are not even there, right? Whereas like another business where like, let's say like a roller skating rink where there's a very limited amount of staff that you need, right? You can just hire vendors to like clean it or whatever it is. And then so like as an operational standpoint, there's a very low overhead, but the upside is also very huge.
You want to buy a roller skating rink with me?
I mean, I might be interested. I mean, like, well, gotta look at the numbers. You know, everything comes down to math at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like. Numbers don't lie, people do.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true.
So yeah, that's pretty our 5-year plan. I think is just keep going.
Well, and we're going to develop a couple of websites to get more people involved in doing manufactured homes, because I think in the next 5 to 10 years that will be one of the biggest sectors.
Explain that to me, or what makes you think that?
Because house prices were supposed to have gone down because we had a recession.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't really go down.
Yeah.
Because we have no supply. So building stick-built houses, you're going to have builders. Well, builders aren't going to build low-income housing. It's the same money for them to build low-income as it is higher income.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the sad things, I think. So even as an investor, when we're looking to build these houses, it costs the same amount of money, like you said, to build in like a nice neighborhood or like, let's say, in a poor neighborhood. But then the nicer neighborhood is just going to give you like way more profit. And so like it doesn't even make sense financially to build if you can sell a house for $50,000 and you build it for $250, like it's stupid, right? You have to sell, if you sell for $1 million, same amount of work, same amount of materials,
right,
but just sells at a higher price. Like it's just not economical to build affordable housing.
Right. So now you've got this huge population of seniors and veterans that don't have the means.
Yeah.
And they're manufactured homes all over the country.
Okay.
They're faster because they're built in a factory. So it's something you can just put on there, set it up, and it's ready to go.
Mass production things.
Yeah. So you're going to see that be a huge trend because the price point is going to be where people can get into it. And then there isn't a lot of people that offer solutions for when things go bad in manufactured homes. They do, just like houses. You know, most people let their house go for 10 to 20 years, and either somebody else buys it and flips it, or they hire a contractor, remodel it, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
That's not normally the case with manufactured homes. They let them go to the point where they're just destroyed, and then they move to a different house.
Why is that?
I think because it's a lower income and the contractors don't really know how to fix them, or they charge them really high prices, and there's just nobody offers too many solutions for them.
So what would you guys, are you guys thinking of building a business around this?
I don't know if we're necessarily thinking about that. It could just grow into one of those. Okay. But, we've kind of perfected a lot of different processes that we do that make them nice houses for not a terrible amount of money. And we're going to start doing content on a website so people can see what to do.
Why do it on a website versus like YouTube or Instagram?
Might do it that way too. Okay. This is new for me. It's more her alley.
Just thinking through this from a marketing perspective is that one of the beauties of like Instagram or YouTube is that you already have a built-in audience where like people are actively looking to watch certain topics. If you have a website, you have to drive traffic to that website. So I mean, like, not saying it can't be done, but like if you just want to create content for it, it would be way easier, I think, if you just create a YouTube channel. Eventually, you can always point to your website, but then your main focus hub should be like an existing platform that has like all the eyeballs that's pointed to. You know, just a thought.
That's a good point.
But I mean, like, not to say that you can't have the website in the back end and point people there, but then the majority of your audience, your traffic would probably be at YouTube or on like the Instagram or Facebook or something.
That's your problem. I'm just the guy who thinks about.
But I mean,
stuff.
it's very interesting. I mean, I like, and the thing is, like, whenever you're looking at these problems, if you're like in the very beginning, they call it the blue ocean, right? You have no competitors. Other people haven't solved or thought about this yet, so you have like the wide berth. Your ceiling is very high.
Right.
Once other people are like, hey, looks like they're making money, let's jump into it too. Now the ocean becomes red, and so like it shrinks all the profits and the opportunities. But if you guys are like at the forefront, and like nobody else is doing this, and it's a big opportunity now, like the sky's the limit for you guys. So.
Yeah, we're even noticing that in our little town. No one was doing what we were when we started this 4 or 5 years ago, and now we keep meeting people going, yeah, I got a couple of rentals, I'm doing this. So we're okay with it because I mean, it just
helps the community.
It helps the community, and you know, like the old saying goes, a good tide raises all ships. So if everybody's doing well, great.
Yeah, I love, and then it sounds like you just have like a good, healthy view of money and just like of community as well too.
Oh, absolutely.
How did you guys form your perspective on money and like entrepreneurship and giving?
I just always want to be the light. Like I want to do good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for
money
me,
is not important to me.
Was it always the case, like growing up, or was there like a pivotal moment where that happened?
I think it's pretty much always been me. I was raised in a Christian home, so I just always had those morals and ethics.
I'm more the money driver than she is anyway.
And the whole money is the root of all evil has always been thrown in my head. And I know that's not the whole biblical verse. We don't have to go through all that, but I just always, money's never been my driver. It's more him because he wants the freedom. It's not the money, it's the freedom that it allows us.
That's a big part of it, and somebody I was listening to and I really liked what they had to say. They said money's like an IOU, which means the more you do for others, the more IOUs you get. So if you're not doing anything for anybody else but yourself, you're not going to have very many IOUs.
That's very, very interesting. I've never heard that before. That's really.
But I really liked that perspective. So that means the more selfish you are, the less you're probably going to have.
I think that's totally true, but
I don't know if it's true, but I like the way it sounded. So
I mean, yes and no. But I mean, like, to a certain point, because obviously there's like people who volunteer, they give things for free, right? And they don't have any money. But there's also like people in the business world who they add a lot of value to the world. That's the reason why they're so successful.
Yeah, but I think even with the volunteers, it doesn't necessarily need to be money because, there's plenty of stories of people that were volunteers or, interns or whatever, just did an amazing job and were rewarded by the person who had tons of money because they were just so impressed by them.
Yeah. So that's a big IOU.
Right. Yeah. So again,
favors. And
or maybe connections or relationships. I'm thinking of somebody in particular. Anyway, this kid, he drives to George Gammon's event with a tattoo that he got right before the event just because he wanted to be in George's world, and now that kid is meeting.
Wait, so the tattoo is what? What is it?
I think it was Rebel Capitalist, which is George's YouTube channel.
Oh, wow, okay.
And it's really funny. Now the guy hangs out with like some of the top economic minds, period.
Because he's willing to put in the work.
Because he's willing to put in the work.
And sacrifice his body. Like,
right.
Yeah. No tattoo for me.
I love it. So maybe if just as we wrap up here, maybe if you want to leave the audience with this one big idea or like a tip or some advice.
Never quit. If you can think it, you can do it. And I think surrounding yourself with like people like you and a lot of the other people we know that are constantly encouraging and supportive is what helps us get further. And, plenty of us know people are like, oh, you're never going to make it. Why are you doing that? I would say that's what I would, you know what, just kind of whatever.
Yeah. Trust in yourself. Believe in yourself that you can
and
do
if you don't, find people who do.
And surround yourself with like-minded people that will raise you up and not think you know.
Right.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, people want to reach out to you and find out more about you guys, maybe invest in a roller park. What's the most way to do that?
A roller skating rink. We're on Instagram. I think it's Posh Properties LLC.
Okay.
I'll have to double check that.
And there's Mailbox Depot LLC.
Yeah, there's Mailbox Depot LLC. He's on YouTube under Clifford Nuggets.
Great.
Okay. Well.
But Instagram mainly.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming on the show. Super appreciate you. Like very, very cool stuff you guys are doing. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Daniel.